We begin with the idea that governs almost everything we believe about life, yet rarely question time. From the moment we are born, we are taught to think in terms of past, present, and future. We measure our lives through it, define our progress by it, and often imprison ourselves within it. We say, I was this, or I will become that, as though reality itself is stretched across a line moving from behind us to somewhere ahead. But I tell you, this line is not as real as it seems. The past exists only as memory, and memory lives in the mind. The future exists only as imagination, and imagination also lives in the mind. Both are mental constructs, shadows of thought that feel real because we continuously give them attention. Yet your actual experience of life never occurs in the past, nor does it ever occur in the future. It is always now, always here. This moment is the only place where life unfolds, the only place where you can feel, choose, and create. But most people do not live here. They live in what has been or what might be. They carry the past as a weight, allowing old experiences to define their identity, to limit what they believe is possible. Or they project themselves into the future, waiting for the right moment, the right opportunity, the right version of themselves to finally arrive. In doing so, they miss the only moment that holds power, the present. You must understand this clearly. Creation does not happen in time, it happens in consciousness. And consciousness is not bound by past or future, it operates now. What you assume to be true, what you feel to be real within yourself in this moment, is what begins to shape your world. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. When you say, I will be successful, you place success in the future, and by doing so you keep it there. You separate yourself from it. But when you claim, I am successful, and you feel it as a present reality, you collapse that distance. You bring what seemed distant into the now, where all creation occurs. This is the shift from living through time to living through awareness. Time then is not your master, it is a tool of perception, a way the mind organizes experience. But you are not the mind alone, you are the awareness behind it. And awareness is not bound by the ticking of a clock. It is still, present, and infinitely powerful. When you identify with this awareness, you step outside the illusion of time's control. This is why some moments feel expansive, timeless, almost eternal, while others feel rushed and constrained. It is not time that changes, it is your state of consciousness. When you are fully present, time seems to disappear, and in that presence you are most aligned with your true nature, the creator of your experience. So I ask you to reconsider how you relate to time. Stop using it as an excuse to delay your life. Stop placing your desires on a distant horizon. Everything you seek must be claimed in consciousness now. For now is the only doorway through which reality is formed. The moment you understand that the present is not just a passing point in time, but the very foundation of all creation, you begin to live differently. You begin to live beyond time. Now, as you begin to loosen your grip on time and return to the power of the present moment, you must come to understand what truly shapes the life you experience within it. It is not circumstance, not chance, not the actions of others. It is your state of being. This is the silent cause behind every visible effect. Your state is more than a passing mood or fleeting emotion. It is the sum total of what you accept as true about yourself. It is the inner atmosphere you carry, the identity you occupy, the feeling of I am that you return to again and again. And from this state all things flow. Every thought you think, every decision you make, every reaction you have is filtered through the state you are in. You may believe that you are responding to the world, but in truth, the world is responding to you. It reflects in ways both subtle and obvious the condition of your inner being. If you feel unworthy, you will interpret events through that lens. If you feel confident and secure, the same world will appear entirely different to you. It is not the outer world that changes first, it is you. Consider how often people attempt to change their lives by forcing external action. They chase opportunities, struggle to control outcomes, and exhaust themselves trying to rearrange the world to match their desires. Yet they overlook the one place where change is immediate and absolute, their own state of consciousness. Without shifting this, all effort becomes temporary. For the old state will simply recreate the old reality in a new form. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. This is not a matter of effort, but of alignment. Your state acts as a magnet, drawing to you experiences that correspond to its nature. When you dwell in a state of lack, you will find evidence of lack. When you dwell in a state of abundance, opportunities, ideas, and circumstances begin to mirror that abundance back to you. This is why two individuals can stand in the same environment, yet live entirely different lives. One sees limitation, the other sees possibility. One feels defeated, the other feels empowered. The difference is not in their surroundings, but in their state of being. Change the state and you change the experience. Now this is where your true responsibility lies, not in controlling the world, but in mastering yourself. You must become aware of the state you are occupying and ask whether it reflects the life you wish to live. If it does not, then you have the power to shift it, not through struggle, but through assumption. You choose consciously the state you will embody. Feel yourself to be the person you desire to become, not as a distant goal, but as a present reality. Carry the feeling of fulfillment, of certainty, of already being. Let this feeling become familiar, natural, and steady within you. As you persist in this state, the world will begin to conform to it, for it has no choice but to reflect what you consistently embody. Do not wait for evidence before you believe. The evidence comes after. Your state is the cause, the world is the effect. Reverse this understanding and you remain bound. Accept it and you become free. For the moment you master your state, you no longer chase reality, you become the force that shapes it. As you begin to understand that your state of being shapes your reality, another subtle truth reveals itself, one that governs how that reality is experienced in every moment. It is not only what you are, but how you see. For perception is the silent interpreter of life, the lens through which all things are filtered before they reach your awareness. You may assume that you are seeing the world as it is, that what stands before you is objective and fixed. Yet what you call reality is not a direct experience, it is an interpretation. Every event, every interaction, every circumstance is given meaning by the mind, and that meaning is shaped by your inner state. You do not see truth, you see through the structure of your own beliefs, assumptions, and identity. This is why two individuals can witness the same event and walk away with entirely different experiences. One may see opportunity where another sees loss. One may feel gratitude where another feels resentment. The outer condition remains the same, yet the inner interpretation transforms it into something entirely unique. In this way, perception is not passive, it is creative. If you believe the world is against you, you will begin to notice proof of it everywhere. Small inconveniences will feel like confirmations. Neutral events will be interpreted as obstacles. Even moments of possibility may be overlooked, simply because they do not align with your expectation. In this state, you are not discovering reality, you are reinforcing a pattern. But the moment you shift your perception, the same world begins to reveal something new. What once appeared as limitation may now be seen as redirection. What once felt like failure may now carry the seed of growth. The facts may not have changed, but your relationship to them has, and that changes everything. For it is not the event itself that holds power, but the meaning you assign to it. This is why transformation does not always require external change. You may spend years trying to alter your environment, your circumstances, or the behavior of others, believing that peace and fulfillment lie somewhere outside of you. Yet the greatest shift occurs when you begin to see differently. When you adjust the lens, the entire picture changes without the need to move a single piece in the outer world. Perception, then, is deeply tied to identity. You see yourself in the world, and the world reflects that image back to you. If you see yourself as limited, the world appears restrictive. If you see yourself as capable, the world begins to open. It is not responding to your words, but to your inner knowing, what you quietly accept as true. And here lies your power. You are not bound to any fixed way of seeing. You can choose the meaning you give to life. You can decide what something represents, how it shapes you, and what it leads to next. This is not denial of reality, it is the conscious direction of it. You are no longer reacting unconsciously, but interpreting deliberately. Begin to observe how you perceive, notice the assumptions you carry into each moment, and then gently, intentionally begin to shift them. See possibility where you once saw limitation. See alignment where you once saw delay. See purpose where you once saw confusion. As you do this, you will find that the world begins to mirror this new vision back to you in ways that feel almost effortless. For the world is not fixed. It is fluid, shaped continuously by the consciousness that observes it. And when you change the way you see, You do not merely alter your experience, you alter reality itself. The moment you realize that perception is creation, you no longer ask what the world is, you decide what it becomes. As you begin to see that your perception shapes your experience, you are ready to approach a deeper truth about manifestation itself, one that dissolves the illusion of waiting. For most have been taught that manifestation is a process bound by time, something that unfolds step by step, moving from desire to fulfillment across days, months, or even years. But this belief is rooted in the same misunderstanding we have already uncovered, the belief in time as a force that governs creation. Manifestation does not occur in the future. It is not something that is coming toward you from a distant point. It is something that is realized in the present moment through alignment. What you desire is not being created, it already exists as a possibility within consciousness. Every version of life, every outcome, every identity is available now. The question is not when it will arrive, but whether you are aligned with it. When you say it will happen, you place your desire outside of yourself, somewhere ahead in time. You create distance between who you are and what you seek, and in doing so you continue to experience that separation. But when you understand that creation is finished, that what you seek already exists in a different state of consciousness, you begin to approach manifestation differently. You no longer wait, you align. Alignment is not effort, it is not force, it is the quiet inner act of becoming. It is the willingness to feel now what you believe will come later, to think from the end rather than of it, to assume the identity of the one who already is rather than the one who hopes to be. This is the shift that changes everything. Consider this carefully. If you are already living the life you desire, how would you feel? How would you see yourself? How would you move through the world? These are not questions for imagination alone. They are invitations into a state, and when you enter that state fully, when you accept it as your present reality within, something begins to change. The outer world, though it may appear unchanged at first, is already in motion, rearranging itself to reflect your new assumption. Many become discouraged because they look for immediate evidence. They check the outer world for confirmation, and when it does not appear instantly, they return to doubt. But this is where understanding must be firm. The outer world is a reflection, not the source. It follows, it does not lead. Your role is not to force the reflection, but to remain faithful to the state you have chosen. There is no need to rush, no need to question how or when. These belong to the mind that is still bound by time. When you are aligned, you trust, you allow, you remain steady in the knowing that what you have accepted as true within must, in its own perfect way, be expressed without. And you will begin to notice something remarkable. As you hold this state, opportunities appear with less effort. Ideas come to you naturally. Circumstances shift in ways you could not have predicted. It feels less like striving and more like unfolding. This is not coincidence, it is coherence. The inner and outer are coming into agreement. Manifestation then is not about acquiring something new, it is about embodying what already is. It is about stepping into a version of yourself that exists beyond the limitations of time and allowing that version to express itself here and now. The moment you stop waiting for your life to happen and begin living it inwardly as already fulfilled, you dissolve the illusion of time, and what once seemed distant begins to appear as inevitable. As you begin to understand that manifestation is not a matter of time but of alignment, another shift must take place within you, one that may feel counterintuitive at first. It is the movement from control to surrender, from force to flow. For many have been taught that effort is the path to achievement, that pushing harder, striving longer, and controlling every detail will bring them closer to what they desire. Yet this very approach often keeps them in a state of resistance. Control is born from fear. It is the mind's attempt to secure an outcome because it does not yet feel certain within. When you feel the need to force something into being, you are in truth affirming that it is not already yours. You are operating from lack, from separation, from the belief that something must be made to happen rather than allowed to unfold. And this state, no matter how much action you take, will continue to reproduce more of the same tension. Flow, on the other hand, arises from trust. It is the natural expression of alignment. When you are inwardly certain, when you have accepted your desired reality as true within yourself, there is no urgency, no desperation, no need to grasp. You move differently. Your actions become clear, intuitive, and effortless. Not because you are doing less, but because you are no longer working against yourself. This does not mean inaction. It does not mean withdrawing from life or refusing to participate in the world. Rather, it means that your actions are no longer driven by fear or the need to control outcomes. They arise from a deeper knowing, a quiet confidence that guides you without strain. You begin to act not in order to become, but as an expression of who you already are. Consider how different it feels to act from pressure versus acting from certainty. When you feel pressure, every step carries weight. You question your decisions, you second guess your path, and you constantly look outward for validation. But when you act from certainty, there is a sense of ease. Even challenges are met with composure, for they are no longer seen as threats, but as part of the unfolding. Resistance is what disrupts this flow. And resistance often appears in subtle forms: overthinking, doubt, impatience, the need to constantly check whether something is working. These are not just thoughts, they are states that contradict the reality you are seeking to embody. To enter flow, you must release them, not by force, but by returning to your chosen state again and again. Trust is the bridge. Trust that what you have accepted within is already taking shape. Trust that you do not need to see the entire path in order to walk it. Trust that life is not something you must battle, but something that responds to your inner condition. This trust is not blind, it is rooted in understanding. You know that the outer must follow the inner, and so you remain steady. As you deepen into this way of being, you will find that life begins to move with you rather than against you. What once felt like struggle begins to feel like coordination. Doors open in ways you did not plan. Encounters happen at the right moment. Solutions appear when needed. And you realize that what you once tried to control was never yours to control, it was yours to align with. There is a profound freedom in this. You are no longer burdened by the need to make everything happen. You are no longer caught in the tension of constant effort. Instead, you become a participant in a greater harmony, one that reflects your inner state with precision. The moment you release control and trust the state you have embodied, you cease forcing life and life begins to flow through you effortlessly. And now we arrive at the realization that brings all of this together. The one truth that once truly understood dissolves the need to search, to chase, to become. It is the recognition of who you are. For as long as you see yourself as separate from what you desire, you will remain in pursuit of it. You will continue to look outward, hoping that something, someone, or some moment will complete you. But this search is endless because it is based on a misunderstanding of your own nature. You are not the seeker, you are the source. Everything you have been attempting to attract, to manifest, to bring into your life is not outside of you, it is contained within your own consciousness. The feelings you long to experience, the fulfillment you imagine, the identity you wish to embody, all of it already exists within you as a state that can be claimed. The world does not give these things to you, it reflects them back to you once you have accepted them as true within yourself. This is why no external achievement ever feels complete for long when it is not matched by an inner knowing. A person may acquire wealth, recognition, or success, yet still feel a sense of lack, a quiet emptiness that cannot be explained. And another, with far less by comparison, may feel whole, fulfilled, and at peace. The difference is not in what they possess, but in what they are conscious of being. You have been taught to identify with limitation, to see yourself as a product of your past, your circumstances, your environment. You have been told in subtle and direct ways that your power lies outside of you, that you must earn your place, prove your worth, and wait your turn. But this is not truth, it is conditioning. And it is this conditioning that keeps you bound, not to reality, but to a version of it that you have unknowingly accepted. The moment you begin to question this, something shifts. You start to see that your identity is not fixed. It is not something given to you, it is something you assume. You are constantly declaring who you are, not only in your words, but in your thoughts, your feelings, your expectations. And these declarations, whether conscious or unconscious, shape the world you experience. If you say, "I am not enough," life will echo that back to you in countless ways. If you say, "I am capable," "I am whole," "I am the one who creates," life will begin to mirror that truth instead. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. You have shifted the center from which all experience flows. To live as the source is to take full responsibility for your inner state. It is to recognize that nothing outside of you holds authority over what you are. It is to understand that you do not wait for permission, for validation, or for the right conditions. You begin within, you claim the state, you accept it fully, and you allow the world to reflect it. This is not arrogance, it is not denial of the external world, it is clarity. You are not dismissing reality, you are understanding its origin. You are no longer reacting to appearances, you are shaping them through your consciousness. And as this realization deepens, the need to seek begins to fall away. You no longer chase after experiences because you know they arise from you. You no longer depend on outcomes to define you because you define yourself from within. There is a stillness in this, a quiet confidence that does not need to prove itself. You move through life differently, not as someone trying to become, but as someone who already is. And from this place, everything you once desired begins to appear, not as something gained, but as something revealed. The moment you realize you are the source, the search ends and creation begins.